Urvashi Butalia. I'm a feminist publisher and a writer and researcher working on gender and women's issues. And at Ashoka, I have the privilege of teaching the YIF, a job that I really love. The course I teach is entitled Women, Society and Changing India, where we try to track a sort of selective history of the women's movement in India. But we pick moments where some kind of change has happened, and we try to see how to measure and map that change and what that means for our lives today. So it's not at all a theoretical course, it's deeply experiential, it's based on real life stories, and it draws lessons for real life from those stories. I try to make a safe space where you can ask any and every kind of question. And I know that on the subject of gender and women and the histories of feminism, we have a lot of unanswered questions, and there are hardly any spaces where we can ask them. Expect to come into a classroom where it's very interactive, so you can ask questions, and it's also, I hope, a lot of fun, and there are jokes and humor and stories, and just generally a lot of bonding. On the women's movement in India, there are a few books which are key. One of them is a book called The History of Doing, and it's an illustrated account of women's movements and feminisms in India. The second book is by Nivedita Menon. It's called Seeing Like a Feminist, and that's also a really great introduction. And then there are a couple of books by V. Geeta and Uma Chakravarti, which are on concepts that are essential and important, like gender, patriarchy, caste. I would suggest, if you're interested in partition, read Wazira Zamindar's lovely book, read Yasmin Saikia's book. They'd take too long if I was to give you their titles. Read some of the younger researchers like Neeti Nair and Anchal Malhotra, who's done some really nice work on partition. Read novels, there's a lot of interesting fiction. There's a wonderful book that I would recommend by a writer called Altaf Fatima. It's called The One Who Did Not Ask, and it's an old novel which has been reprinted, and it's something that deals with the disappearance, of the Chinaman, the man who used to come from house to house to sell Chinese silks. I could go on and on, but these are enough to start with.